That's the story. And here we are on Sunday the 8th of October. Matt is getting ready to go down to measure up the lifting eyes on the engine for stropping it, and Percy typically is filming. We eventually found the boat on Saturday on the very last dive. We'd all been diving all day in this area, and literally we must have swum under the wreck. The visibility you see in this video was actually a lot better than the day before, and in fact the camera sees a lot better than the naked eye. And here's the Barbelotte lying on its side in 37 meters of water. It's sort of jammed in a gully. That light is just Percy putting his torch on, but the camera sees very well in the dark. You can see how squashed the fenders are. Matt is just offering up a shackle to the lifting eyes to make sure that the shackle pins fit through the lifting eyes. Unfortunately, there's nowhere on the boat, because it's laying on its side, to put any lifting bags. The cleats on the sides and stern aren't really strong enough to lift a boat of this weight. The previous day we were almost diving in pitch black. You needed torches to see anything at all, and almost certainly we swam underneath the wreck. The engine is a big 260 horsepower GM 6-cylinder, V6 cylinder, 2-stroke diesel engine. And the red thing you see in the engine hatch is the automatic fire extinguisher. It's Matt having a look at the damage underneath. You can see how red the life belts look with the torch on them, but when you see them without the torch, they're just totally lost of colour. You just see the reflective bands on them. The top of the radar scanner has been pushed in by water pressure, so it shows that the O-ring seal on the base must have been quite watertight. You could see the impression when you got inside the boat in the window where the crew on the boat, when it struck, hit his forehead and physically bent the aluminium window frame. He was lucky he wasn't more severely injured. It could have killed somebody. It's amazing the effect of hitting something at something like 14 knots and coming to a absolute stop. And this is how a good window cleaner cleans windows. One life raft was launched at the time of sinking, and the other one came up automatically on there when the hydrostatic release worked. At this sort of depth one has very little bottom time. You can see it's quite deep as the rocks are devoid of seaweed. There's Matt starting to go up the line now. You can see that's an orange bobber, but underwater it just looks a yellowy grey. The blue shows up much better than red underwater. This was a Sunday, which was a sort of perfect diving day, but unfortunately we didn't have permission from the insurers to lift it. We had a meeting on the Monday morning where it was decided that after looking at the video at the insurer's agent's office, the insurers decided to write the vessel off. Here we are just coming around to the north of Long Peter after diving on the site, just to have a look at where the vessel struck. There's a post of Long Peter, and here we are. I'm just filming the reef immediately to the west of Long Peter Post. And you can see the white mark on the top of the reef where the boat struck. And that diving rib is just to the north of where the boat's actually sunk. The tide here is still flowing south, so we're just backing away quite smartly because we don't want to leave an impression on the rock. Now here we are on the Tuesday. We had a little window in the bad weather. Of course it blew up quite hard. So we're here on the Tuesday. It's Dave Marwick's boat, Portland Fisher, and I'm down. You'll see a white splodge there in the centre of the picture. And what happened was I used the lifting eyes on the engine, and the boat lifted, but as it rocketed towards the surface, the 4 10mm bolts holding the lifting eyes on the engine parted, and the lift bag spilt its air and continued to the surface, and the Barbelotte passed me going down to 40 metres this time, and I could hear a few rumbles and bumps as it hit the bottom. And here's Portland Fisher just coming in to pick the lift bag up, which had the 2 lifting eyes still attached to it. So that was the end of the first attempt. The only good thing about it was the actual boat then was sitting fairly straight on level on the seabed.
Preparations for the racing as well.
I don't know why you're filming Piero doing his scallop dredges, Perce. We're doing a salvage job.
Richard with his high-tech approach. Danny, standby diver.
Here I'm just connecting up a high pressure hose to a fitting that fits on the top of the 5-ton lifter bag. We've got a large master cylinder on board so that we can inflate the lift bag from the surface. This cuts out the diving time needed to fill the bag. Perce is playing to the camera. Couple of right poses. So this was Friday the 13th, a nice fine day after a week of unusually bad weather. And here we've picked up the mooring on the boat and I'm just shackling the lift bag to the down line. This is connecting up the high pressure hose to the top of the lift bag. And this is the real technical bit where we attach some uncompressible lifting buoys, floats to the top of the lift bag so the lift bag floats fairly upright on the seabed. Because in 40 metres of water it's very difficult to handle this sort of gear. And the great thing is to totally minimise your diving time, which we did. So Danny is here just letting the air out the top of the lift bag. He's also praying that he hasn't upset Dave too much, because the only thing that's stopping him going in the water is Dave's hand around his belt. And here I am just about to go down. The crabbing iron you see is actually to help me pull the strop round the underneath of the engine. Very difficult access, it turned out to be.
What's the crack, Richard? Bloody nightmare down there. That torch didn't work. You could have borrowed mine, Richard. Proper job. Couldn't find any room around the engine. But I've been in the thick of it, Perce. I'll tell you something, don't come near me with all them. All shackled up. I'm underneath. Yeah.
Here's Dave Marwick, otherwise known as Daisy, in the Portland Fisher, to help us tow the boat back, hopefully this time.
off at 45 fucking feet. Long drop. Fucking great drop. You know, the lift bag.
This is where it gets technical. I've got Danny measuring out a length of rope with a big bobber and a smaller bobber on it, and I'm going down now with a fresh tank. This time it's nitrox, enriched oxygen mixture, because I'm only diving now in about 22 metres of water on top of the lift bag. The little bobber I pull under, and as the bag inflates, up comes little bobber. We know that the big bag, lift bag, is going to come up in a minute.
Bloody hell! Oh! Oh, hell, is this right?
If you don't like strong language, don't listen to the next bit of this video.
Okay, Richard.
Here we're just pulling in the high pressure hose, which has got wrapped round one of the other ropes. All the ropes ended up in a real tangle. So now the boat is hanging 15 metres below the lift bag. So we're now going to tow it and ground it on the sandbank, where I'll shorten the tow, shorten the height of the lift bag. So Dave's just going to throw me a tow rope. And here we are in the bay, just off Telegraph Bay, with the boat grounded in about 14 metres of water. So I've just gone in to deflate the lift bag. And this is Percy Tippett coming down to film what's going on. Percy was doing standby diving for me while I was doing the main lift. So Dave Marwick had to get into his suit to be standby diver to the two of us. So we're coming down onto the Barbelotte, where the bubbles that are coming up is from me already working on the boat. So here I am working away, trying to get some short strops around the engine, but I actually just couldn't physically get any more strops around the engine. So although I had these nice new tested strops, I ended up putting an overhand knot in them. To shorten the lift. It just meant sacrificing the strops, but it just wasn't worth struggling anymore to get it round, get the strops around the engine. So I'm just now, the lift bag's deflated and dropped to the port side of the vessel, so I'm just pulling it back with this massive tangled rope around it. You can see I've got a very interesting technique in wearing bottles. Should actually be flat on your back, but every time I go down I change cylinder. It's, the safest way to be is always have a fresh cylinder. Nice posy shot of the transom, Mr. Tippett. And here I am trying to make doubly sure that the wire won't slip. Sort out this maze of rope. Pass the wire through again, just in case. And here I'm using the air from my regulator just to put a flick of air into the 5-ton lift bag so it sits upright and I can check that everything is shackled and not twisted. Just checking everything is correct. Looks a bit of a mess, but it'll do. So I'm off to change my cylinder and bring some air down to fill the lift bag. I was intending to fill the lift bag with a hose from the surface again, but the hose ended up so tangled that it was a lot quicker to just come down with 3 large storage bottles. You can see the couple of fishing floats just holding the lift bag up nicely. I didn't know better, Percy. I thought you were trying to advertise this lift bag. It's a real posy shot, this is. The little black globules you'll see are actually oil escaping from the engine. When the boat went down, she had over a ton of diesel on board, so there's been quite a lot of diesel coming out of it over the course of a week. Here I come down with 3 large diving bottles. I'm just tying the diving cylinders to the base of the lift bag. Just so if I have to let them go for any reason, they don't get lost. And here I'm just putting first cylinder. And I'm just bringing up the second, trying to be clever, and fill it with 2 bags, 2 bottles into the same bag. But unfortunately when one tries to be too clever, things don't work out. People on the surface start to panic when they see all the air bubbles coming up. So we're back to 1 bottle at a time. Just looking at the lift bag, making sure everything is straight. The bubbles you see going up are the bubbles coming out of my regulator that I'm breathing rather than escaping air. Whack another cylinder in. And I'm just straightening my computer up on my wrist. Well, you can see I'm looking at my computer because I know that the boat isn't far off lifting. And when you actually can't see reference points, you use a digital computer which tells you your depth to I'm just telling Percy the boat's on the move. And when it starts to lift, it lifts very slowly. But as it goes up, the air in the lift bag increases, and of course the lift increases. So I can sort of step back quite quietly. And the boat, we're just going to go up very slow, and then accelerate as it gets to the surface. Here we are. Floating quite nicely. A little bit bow up, which helps when we're towing. Just go in and recover the 3 diving cylinders. By now the tide is just changing, so we get the first of the flood from St Martin's Point up towards the harbour. There's Danny on the Salvage K just coming to pick us up. And away we go. The big white boat you see in the background was the Oriana, which was anchored off Guernsey for a conference for 750 delegates,
Yeah, I got it there.
allegedly at just £1 million a day charter. So we're coming up to St Peter Port, but unfortunately, just as we were wanted to go into the harbour, the Commodore ferry was about 10 minutes from leaving, so we had to wait. So we nipped in just to check that everything on shore was arranged. This is Nipper Gill's boat. It's a Commodore boat, just waiting to depart, and here she is departing. Always remember, the bigger they are, the harder they hit. The comment about red hats refers to when we're doing a job like this. We have red hats for when your hair is wet, and nice clean red hats for when the TV cameras are running when you get in the harbour and you want to do a bit of posing. So we've now picked up the stern rope so we can act as brake, and we're just coming in the harbour now. Danny's up on the bow. Everything's so tidy on this boat. This is a stern rope. And here's a crane just taking the first lift. As you lift the boat, the air escapes out of the lift bag. We just gradually take it up. The hole in the keel was so big that the water escaped very readily out of the aft section, but the bulkhead forward held, and you can see she goes nose heavy with the weight. A nice new boat in the background is Richard Seeger's new boat, out of the blue and into the red. And this is look at the damage, a few scrapes on the side, big gash in the keel amidships, a few bumps and scrapes forward. The rudder and the skeg were damaged when she went down first time. She went down stern first. Surprisingly, the propeller was in good condition.
Port time. I am in a bit.
This video is not to be used without the permission of Guernsey Marine Salvage Company.